In South African politics, there are politicians who shout,
"We would like you to assist us."
That's exactly what made you not to be a candidate of the Women's League.
Politicians who clap back.
Hey man, we're busy debating. You are sleeping. You are a sleepist. You think we're sleepist here?
Hey, honorable member.
Politicians who trend on social media before breakfast. And then there is Cyril Ramaphosa. You can call him Cupcake. You can accuse him of being weak.
The ANC. I'll give you a good example. Before President Zuma resigned, there were those who were saying, you are a weak president. Why haven't you kicked President Zuma out?
You can demand that he resign.
I would have hoped that President Ramaphosa would step up to the podium and say to the people of our country, I am ashamed to be standing before you. I'm a billionaire. I'm counted among the top 10 richest South Africans. And yet, I am also a beneficiary of Bosasa. Therefore, I am here to tender my resignation.
You can blame him for everything from illegal immigration to unemployment, crime, and government incompetence.
Siyazi ukuthi uPresident wethu Cyril Ramaphosa uthi uzovula imncele ukuze abantu bayiphumele bayingenele.
You can even put him in Oval Office while Donald Trump unexpectedly switches off the lights and plays a video intended to prove that South Africa is experiencing a so-called white genocide. And somehow, Ramaphosa still manages to sit there looking like a man waiting for the waiter to bring his coffee. Now, is that weakness or is it political survival skill? Because there is something fascinating about the way Cyril Ramaphosa handles pressure. And today, we are asking, is Ramaphosa actually playing chess while everyone else is playing rugby? The quiet man in the room. There is an old martial arts idea. Don't worry too much about the loud guy, the guy shouting, the guy threatening, the guy telling everybody how dangerous he is. Watch the quiet one, because sometimes the person making the least noise is the person doing the most thinking. And that description fits Ramaphosa's political style surprisingly well. His temperament has become almost part of his political brain. While opponents may attack him publicly, Ramaphosa often responds with measured language, carefully chosen words, and occasionally that famous presidential smile. And South Africa has certainly tested that temperament. He has faced calls to step down. He has faced accusations of incompetence. His government has been pressured over unemployment, crime, public services, electricity, corruption, and migration. And in 2026, illegal immigration remains one of the most politically explosive issues in the country. Ramaphosa himself acknowledged that South Africans have legitimate concerns about borders.
Our people exercise their right to protest, which is enshrined in our constitution, and we must support that. For the most part, the protests, the marches were quite peaceful. Only a very few incidents. It could have been much worse. And I was very pleased that we were able to hold extensive consultation with a number of people.
Even when the political temperature rises, Ramaphosa rarely appears interested in matching the temperature. And that may not be accidental. He learned politics before he became president. To understand this, you have to go backwards, because Cyril Ramaphosa did not arrive in the presidency as a political newcomer. Before becoming president, he was a trade union leader, a lawyer, a negotiator, and one of the central figures in South Africa's transition from apartheid to democracy. He became ANC Secretary General in 1991 and led the ANC's negotiating team during the Convention for a Democratic South Africa, CODESA. Then, after the 1994 election, He became the chairperson of the Constitutional Assembly responsible for overseeing the drafting of South Africa's new constitution. Think about what that means. He spent some of the most dangerous years in South African history sitting across tables from political opponents, negotiating, arguing, compromising, and trying to prevent negotiations from collapsing. You don't survive that environment by responding to every provocation. You learn something else. Sometimes the best move is not making a move immediately. And perhaps that lesson followed him all the way to union buildings. The Trump moment. Then came one of the biggest tests of that temperament. May 2025, the White House. Ramaphosa was meeting Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Everything initially appeared cordial. Then Trump changed the atmosphere. The lights were turned down.
Turn the lights down, and just put this on. It's right behind you.
And video was played that Trump presented as evidence supporting claims of persecution and so-called white genocide in South Africa. It was an extraordinary diplomatic moment. Ramaphosa was sitting next to American president while highly controversial claims about his own country were being presented in front of the cameras. This was exactly the kind of moment where a politician could lose his temper. But Ramaphosa didn't explode. He pushed back. He explained that South Africa is serious criminality, but rejected the genocide narrative and pointed out that statements by opposition politicians shown in the footage were not government policy. And here's the interesting part. He didn't need to shout louder than Trump. He simply kept talking. Facts, context, calm, even when the room became uncomfortable. That doesn't mean everyone agreed with Ramaphosa, but from a temperament perspective, it was a masterclass in refusing to let another person's emotional energy become your own. The Malema contrast. And this is where the comparison with Julius Malema becomes interesting, because politically, Malema and Ramaphosa represent almost opposite communication styles. Malema's political weapon is confrontation. He thrives on the big statement, the dramatic phrase, the memorable insult, the pegged stadium, the viral moment. Ramaphosa's style is much more restrained. He is more likely sound like he is reading the minutes of a board meeting while everyone else is preparing for a street fight.
Take a break for the next 4 weeks. Now, this has also been the experience in a number of other countries.
And that's not necessarily a criticism of either man. It is simply two completely different political personalities. Malema creates political heat. Ramaphosa often tries to absorb it. One dominates the microphone, the other one often lets the microphone come to him. And in the age of social media, the difference is enormous because politics today rewards noise. Ramaphosa seems to understand that noise eventually disappears. Decisions remain. The cupcake can still smile. But here is the part that makes Ramaphosa particularly interesting. Despite all the pressure, he can still joke. People have shouted cupcake at him. Critics have mocked his leadership. Opposition politicians have attacked him. And yet you can still see Ramaphosa smiling, laughing, and interacting with crowds. Recently, at a women's meeting, he was a cloak gesture towards the audience, a playful moment that showed that even the president can participate in a little political theater without turning every interaction into a confrontation.
This university who are here present, I welcome you and I thank you for being here, and I say clock it, clock it.
And maybe that's another part of the strategy. You don't always have to look angry to look powerful. Sometimes the ability to laugh while your critics are shouting may actually communicate, I'm still standing. But calm doesn't mean perfect. Now, let's be fair. Being calm does not automatically mean being competent. And patience does not automatically mean good governance. Ramaphosa's critics have legitimate arguments. South Africans continue to struggle with unemployment, poverty, crime, corruption, and pressure on public offices. Migration has become one of the country's most emotionally charged political issues. and opposition parties continue to question whether his government is quickly enough. So this video isn't saying Ramaphosa is perfect. Far from it. The real question is different. How does someone remain politically composed while facing so many simultaneous crises? And the answer may be in his history. Negotiation taught him patience, law taught him procedure, business calculation. The struggle years taught him that political battles are in a single moment. And the presidency has taught him something even harder. Sometimes you have to absorb the punch before deciding whether to punch back. So perhaps Cyril Ramaphosa's greatest political weapon isn't his speeches, it isn't his popularity, it isn't even the ANC machinery behind him. Maybe it's something much simpler: temperament. He has watched governments rise and fall. He has negotiated with political enemies.
President Trump, as a leader of an important country like the United States, it is important for you not to disrespect or show any disrespect to any country in the world. We want the United States to engage with the world, with other countries, with due regard, with respect, particularly Africa.
He has survived internal ANC battles. He has faced opposition attacks. He has faced calls to resign. He has sat beside Donald Trump while being confronted with explosive claims about his country. And it all, the man really gives his opponents the satisfaction of seeing him completely lose control. You may love him, you may dislike him, you may think he's too slow, you may think he's too cautious, and you may believe the cupcake has been underestimated. But one thing is difficult to deny. Cyril Ramaphosa understands the power of staying composed. Because in politics, the loudest person in the room isn't always the most dangerous. Sometimes it's the person sitting quietly at the back, watching everybody else making their move. What do you Ramaphosa's calmness a genuine political strength? Or is it simple?